You know when you're looking at a huge list of files and you just click sort by name? Or in a spreadsheet, you click sort by date? It feels instantaneous, like magic. But what's actually happening behind the scenes is one of the oldest, most fundamental challenges in computer science, taking total chaos and turning it into perfect order. And as we're about to see, that simple act comes with a hidden and absolutely massive cost. And I mean massive. Some estimates say that a staggering 25 to 50% of all the world's computing power is spent just on sorting things. Just think about that for a second. Up to half the processing power on the planet is just dedicated to putting lists in the right order. That's wild. It's because sorting is literally everywhere. It's how your teacher takes a jumble of test scores and turns them into a ranked list to figure out grades. It's how a racetrack knows who won second and third place. And maybe most importantly, it's the critical first step to making data searchable. A sorted list is a fast list. So if this is so important, how do computers actually pull it off? Let's dive into one of the most classic methods out there.
First up, we have what's called the bubble sort. I like to call this one the simple swapper. It's probably the most intuitive way you could imagine sorting a list, and its logic is super straightforward. The strategy couldn't be simpler, really. You just go down the list, one pair at a time, and you ask, is the number on the left bigger than the one on the right? If it is, you swap them. That's it. You just keep doing this over and over, and as you do, the biggest numbers naturally bubble up to the end of the list, right where they're supposed to be.
All right, let's get our hands dirty. Here's our messy list of numbers. The goal is to get this thing sorted from smallest to largest, using only those simple little swaps. Okay, so the algorithm starts with the very first pair, 77 and 12. Well, 77 is bigger than 12, so they're in the wrong order. A quick swap, and we slide over to the next pair.
So now we're looking at 77 and 35. Again, 77 is bigger, so they swap too. You see what's happening, right? Our biggest number, 77, has started its journey bubbling its way toward the end of the list. After we do this for the whole list, one thing is guaranteed. Our largest number, 77, is now in its final correct spot at the very end. We can basically lock it in and forget about it. The rest of the list is still a mess, sure, but we've made some real progress.
So we just rinse and repeat. We do that whole bubble up process again on the smaller, unsorted part of the list. Each time we do a full pass, another number gets locked into its correct place, until finally, the whole thing is perfectly sorted.
So bubble sort makes a ton of little swaps along the way. But what if we were a bit more strategic? A little more thoughtful? Well, that brings us to our second method, selection sort. I call this one the decisive planner. Instead of just looking at its next-door neighbor, selection sort is much more methodical. It scans the entire unsorted list to find the one absolute biggest value. And once it finds it, it makes just one single decisive swap to move that number directly to its final spot at the end. It plans its move.
Okay, let's give our planner a new list to work with. Remember the strategy. Don't just swap with your neighbor, scan the whole list, find the champion, and move it right to the end.
So in its first pass, the algorithm looks at every single number and says, aha, 17 is the biggest. Then, instead of a bunch of little swaps, it does just one. It swaps 17 with whatever number was sitting at the very end, in this case, 7. And boom, just like that, 17 is sorted and locked in place. Now for the second pass, it completely ignores the 17 that's already sorted. It just scans the remaining numbers, finds the next biggest one, which is 14, and swaps it into the second to last spot. One big scan, one perfect swap, super efficient with its movements. Okay, our third method is called insertion sort. And honestly, the best way to get this one is to just imagine you're picking up cards and sorting them in your hand as you play a game. Think about it. When you're holding a few cards that are already in order and you draw a new one, you don't just throw them all on the table and start over, right? No, you look at your new card, find the right spot for it in your sorted hand, and you just slide it in. That is exactly how insertion sort works. So, we start by pretending the very first number, 23, is our sorted hand. It's only one card, but hey, it's sorted. Everything else to the right is the unsorted pile we're going to draw from. Okay. A couple steps in, our sorted hand is now 2378. We pick the next card from the pile. It's a 45. So we look at our hand. Is 45 smaller than 78? Yep. Is it smaller than 23? Nope. So we know its spot is right there, in the middle. We just slide it in, and our sorted hand gets a little bigger.
Now watch what happens when we draw a really small number, like 8. We pick it up, and we have to compare it to every card already in our sorted hand. Is it smaller than 78? Yes. Smaller than 45? Yes. Smaller than 23? Yes. Okay, it belongs at the very beginning. Each new card just finds its perfect spot in the group. So there we have it, 3 totally different strategies. The simple swapper, the decisive planner, and the card sorter. They all get the job done, but, as you might have guessed, the way they perform is very, very different.
Which leads us to the million-dollar question. Which one is actually the best? Which method wins the race? Well, like with so many things in the world of computing, the answer is it kind of depends on what you're trying to win.
See, there's this core trade-off between 2 different kinds of work. There's comparisons, which is just checking if 2 numbers are out of order, and swaps, which is physically moving the data around. If you want to minimize swaps, selection sort, the planner, is the undisputed champion. Every item gets moved only once. But if your list is already mostly sorted to begin with, insertion sort, the card sorter, is amazing because it barely has to look before it finds the right spot for each new item. It does way fewer comparisons in that scenario. And this chart really tells the story. All 3 of these algorithms are what we call O of n squared, or n squared when it comes to comparisons. Now, don't worry about the notation. That squared part is the real killer here. It basically means that if you double the size of your list, the time it takes to sort doesn't just double, it quadruples. 10 times more items means 100 times more work. This is why these methods really struggle with big lists. But look over at the swaps column for selection sort. It's O of n. That's linear. Double the items, you only double the swaps. It just confirms how incredibly efficient it is with its data move. So these 3 methods, they're really the fundamental building blocks of sorting. But that O(n) squared problem is a huge, huge bottleneck. And when you remember that maybe half of the world's computers are busy sorting things at any given moment, you realize that getting away from n squared isn't just some academic puzzle, it's a global necessity. Which leaves us with one last, really fascinating question. If these are just the basics, what does a truly fast sort actually look like? Well, that's where things get really clever.